session is on mainstream disaster risk reduction. I will invite onto the dais our chair for this session, Shri Anil K. Sinha, IAS retired, Honorable Vice Chairman, BSDMA. He's also a minister in the cabinet of the Bihar government. He is a renowned expert in the field of disaster management who has held positions at national levels dealing with issues around disaster risk mitigation. Please welcome with a thundering round of applause. Much louder, not everybody's clapping. Thank you. The first speaker is Mr. Balaji Singh Chauhan, Executive Director, Care Today Fund. Sir, could we have you on the dais, please? The next speaker is Mr. G.K. Bhatt, Director, Taru Leading Edge Private Limited. Professor Sunita Reddy, Disaster Research Program, JNU. The Chief Editor of the Times of India, Mr. Rajesh Karla. And Wing Commander S.K. Ahuja.
Okay, namaste and good morning to all of you. I think it's wonderful to be participating in this World Congress, the second World Congress on Disaster Management being held in India. I must say right in the beginning, I'm personally thankful and grateful to the organizers, to the government of Andhra Pradesh, to the dynamic Honorable Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, with whom I've had the occasion way back in past during Vajpayee ji's government, when also he used to be the Chief Minister of the earlier Andhra Pradesh, of dealing and meeting with him. So I'm grateful to all these and all of you for giving me this opportunity. So coming straight into the topic, you see, mainstreaming disaster risk reduction. It says, I think the topic is developmental programs, but I would say that mainstreaming disaster risk reduction, whether you do it in development programs or you do it in your day-to-day life, I think that is the basic issue. Mainstreaming, I have found like another word, you see, called coordination. There are a lot of people who have been in the administration or maybe in the academics. They have had, whether you are in the government organization or private organization or even in home, coordination is something which you need every moment, and yet coordination is something which totally eludes you. You know, it's something invisible, never, you talk about it so often, and yet you are never able to get to grips, you know, with this. But let me not go into that. The other word which really is very, very enigmatic, you see, and eludes kind of a solution, is this mainstreaming. You hear it so often, you see, mainstreaming disaster risk reduction. What is this mainstreaming? So I'm happy that we are having a plenary session with some very, very eminent speakers. As far as I understand, mainstreaming about in developmental program, disaster risk reduction, is something which comes second or third stage, you see. First of all, the way we have been trying to understand and practice in the state of Bihar, in our organization, which is Bihar State Disaster Management Authority, which is a very young organization. We have completed just about 5 years. And these two things, both, I'm not going to coordination, but I can talk about it later or individually, and mainstreaming. Mainstreaming not just in our organization, but mainstreaming throughout the state of Bihar, you see. You know, vertically, horizontally, all that. But where does mainstreaming begin, you see? I think it begins with oneself. It begins with everyone, you see. And that's why I said I think it begins with everyday, day-to-day life of each one of us, you see. So while there is a policy of mainstreaming into developmental programs, DRR, but we started by practicing in very small way what is disaster management in each and every office in Bihar, you see. And mind you, there are something like 10,000 offices in Bihar, you see. Starting from the government level departments, etc., going down to the districts and going down to the blocks and panchayats, you see, about 10,000. And we have started a small attempt which is taking time, going slowly, but now we are seeing tremendous response coming out of that, that all these offices understanding to some extent, getting bit sensitized, getting some appreciation of disaster management. Official context is one thing, but also in personal context, you see. Also in their homes, also with their families, you see. And then we have brought out some guidelines and templates for observing and establishing office disaster management plan in each and every office of these 10,000 plus which we have in Bihar, you see. And slowly the response is coming, and now we are getting almost deluged by requests coming from all over that please come, please come, please come, please tell us, because the guidelines and templates are not really enough, you see. And this is laying down the foundation for doing mainstreaming into developmental programs. Because if I may just take a minute more, if you tell the Department of Education in your state or in Bihar or anywhere, if you tell the Department of Health that you have to mainstream disaster risk reduction into your developmental programs, now what does it mean? For education, one example is that all the schools, whether primary to university, schools, high schools, colleges which they built, at least their buildings should be disaster safe or resistant, you see. As far as the health department is concerned, one of the basic things it should mean is that all the primary health centers or the additional primary health centers which they are making, they are safe, you see. Because maximum number of killings take place because of the buildings falling. If this building is safe, it is going to save us in case of any disaster. And if this building is not safe, this building itself will create disaster for us, you see. But how does a person or the official sitting in education and health start doing this, you see? Unless until they appreciate it in their own context, you see. In their personal context, in their home context, in their own office's context, you see. I have seen it, government of Maharashtra. Let me take a couple of names also, because unless until we talk of hard facts, we don't proceed. A couple of years back, 2012, Mantralaya, there was a fire, you see. Many would recall. I think sometime in September, October. And what happened? 3 floors gutted. And what was gutted in that? Chief Minister's chamber, Deputy Chief Minister's chamber, Chief Secretary's chamber, and the disaster management center which they had on the same floor where the Chief Secretary sits, you see. My question is, if this is the preparedness in the Mantralaya, if this is the appreciation and practice of disaster management in, and this is not a question of Maharashtra, it happens in Bihar, it happens in Gujarat, it will happen in Andhra Pradesh, you see. So if we cannot appreciate that, we cannot observe that, we cannot train ourselves in that, we cannot institute the do's and don'ts, do you think bringing out circulars to all the departments, whether education, health and rural development and transport and commercial taxes, all this is going to have any meaning? No, not at all. So well friends, these were some of my thoughts, because I think this is a topic of great importance, it's of fundamental importance. We talk it in the context, we think we are all personified as officials, experts, etc., etc. But I think first of all, we are an individual. We have a family, we have a home, And disaster management is something which connects first of all to your own context, personal context, your child, your children, your wife, your elderly in the family, etc. Unless until you do that, I can tell you with my experience, I've worked more than 40 years in the government and all kinds of organizations, state government, central government, international assignment, private sector, NGO, you think of it, and I think I have got that kind of a strange kind of a background and career graph, and I have seen it will not happen, you see. So, well, these are my thoughts. In case my panelists and in case you also subscribe to that, I think we can discuss more on that. But let me once again welcome all my eminent panelists, you see, on this very important topic. Now, keeping in view the I think the first speaker I have is Mr. Balaji Singh Chauhan. Is Director Care Fund. I think he needs no introduction. I have known him for 20 years. He is one of the leading lights in the private sector, bringing together, we talk of public-private partnership and all that. So, without any further ado, let me invite Mr. Bala Singh Ji Chauhan. Bala Singh Ji Chauhan is Executive Director, Care Today Fund in India Today Group. He's been in the developmental sector for nearly 20 years and has been actively engaged in the area of disaster management. He has worked for several reputed organizations. As an independent consultant, Balaji had supported his study for Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India to assess mainstreaming DRR into national flagship programs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sinha. I want to start with congratulating the organizers for the great show. Yeah, it's nice to see such workshops. And my dear fellow panelists and all the participants sitting here, yeah, good morning to all of you. I think it's some very relevant remarks that have been made by Mr. Sinha while talking about the mainstreaming risk reduction. In my opinion, I think mainstreaming is about having a very serious eye for quality. You know, it's a movement of quality. That is what is mainstreaming is all about. Instead of doing things the way it need not be done, doing things in the way it needs to be done, I think, you know, if you have to mainstream risk reduction, that has to become a habit. If we are talking of the context today, and all of us know we are talking of increasing frequency of disasters, increasing impact of the disasters, and also, you know, while we are able to save lives, we are not able to save property, leading to a lot of economic damage. We are all aware of that. Can I have the next slide, please? And some of the concerns, as all of us know, you know, the disasters, you know, lead to damage to the lot of development gains which we make. And also, a lot of times the ill-conceived disaster development programs, Mr. Sinha was talking about, you know, they induce vulnerability rather than addressing vulnerability. You know, he has given an example of this building. You know, if it stands to an earthquake, it saves us. If it doesn't stand, it kills us. And a lot of times, the disasters and the socio-economic development are closely linked. And the development gains, a lot of times when which we conceive to benefit all, due to exclusion of certain groups or communities, they tend to be more dangerous for these excluded communities at the time of the disasters. So we have to ensure that the development gains are very inclusive and reach to everyone who are concerned. Can I have the next slide, please? And what I'm going to present is a study which I made for the Ministry of Home Affairs back in 2014 in terms of how to mainstream disaster risk into some of the national flagship programs with the central government ministries had been implementing in the states and the districts. I know there are a lot of changes in the centrally sponsored schemes in the recent past, but still some of the ideas and the recommendations which have come out are relevant because these recommendations are made for the operational level, whether they are implemented by the districts, states, or the central government. With this intent, I thought I should make this presentation. Can I have the next slide, please? And some of the details, it was done in March, April. It was done on the request of the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, and funded by the UNDP. Can I have the, and it's mainly secondary data and some consultations which was done over a period of 15 days. Can I have the next slide, please? And in terms of the purpose, you know, as we all know, we need to mainstream, we need to address the disaster risk. And the Disaster Management Act of 2005, especially the section 11.3b, I think, you know, which says, very clearly mentions that each of the government department, whether the state government or the central government, is responsible for, you know, addressing disaster risk in the most of the programs which they, in the programs they implement. So, and the Ministry of Home Affairs wanted to look in terms of what is the status, what is the progress before making recommendations. That was one of the purpose of the study. These are some of the major findings. You know, one of the major findings of the study was there is a positive political and policy environment. There's a political will, and as we all know, unless we have the political will, some of these conferences, knowledge exchange, all this will not happen. And also we have recently seen that what political will can do to issues, some of the issues like sanitation and hygiene, and what kind of profile the issues of sanitation and hygiene are getting in the recent past because of positive political will. So disaster risk reduction similarly has a positive political will and policy environment guiding it. Yep. And the detailed project reports which are supposed to be prepared for some of the national flagship programs, it was found that the issues related to risk reduction are not addressed adequately, either at the design stage or the monitoring stage or, you know, implementation stage. That was another. So while the political will, positive environment is there, at the design stage itself we start probably lacking. And also risk reduction monitoring mechanism is very weak. That's another and we don't have specific strategy for training people on the risk reduction or the mainstreaming issues for all the, most of the projects related to the centrally sponsored schemes. And again, as Mr. Sinha was putting it, the coordination is an issue from the central, state, district at various levels. You know, coordination is becoming an issue. Can I have the next slide, please? These are some of the issues and challenges, you know, as pointed out by the study. The central ministries, they mentioned, the stakeholders, that they have got a very limited scope except the giving out the money. The scope is at the state and the district level, and if risk reduction or the mainstreaming of risk reduction has to happen seriously, the action should be at the district and the state levels. And issues related to governance and political will. I mean, this is, you know, they are trying to put issues related to corruption when they are saying governance, you know, issues related to quality, issues related to corruption are a big issue, especially at the operational level. And a lot of time, the integrated planning and coordination is lacking, this is already said. And there is inadequate sensitivity. Sensitivity is not adequate towards issues related to risk reduction and the climate change adaptation. This is the issue of quality once again, which is coming up. Can I have the next slide, please? And the study also looked at some of the drivers which will promote risk reduction mainstreaming. And the drivers are the strategic thinking, you know, start from the design stage and include risk reduction at various phases. And comprehending risk and climate change impact, you know, one needs to understand the entire supply chain or the value chain which is involved in the projects needs to understand what would happen if we don't mainstream. And we need to have a very well-defined implementation and management mechanism, you know, design, implementation, reviews, all those things. And risk reduction needs to find a place in each of these processes. And all the programs which we implement, especially the planned programs, needs to have linkages with the global governance and agreements. And there should be provision. Community participation has come as a big driver. So if we need to have community participation, we need to have some entry programs to gain the acceptance of the community. And there should be a good strategy for skills, knowledge, training, and capability enhancement. Can I have the next slide, please? These are some of the recommendations which the study had made, which was considered good by the Ministry of Home Affairs. There should be a very strong, I mean, we need to establish DRR and CCA, climate change adaptation indicators. What do they mean? Okay, what do we achieve? And we need to very widely promote lessons, at various fora. And people do, get influenced and positively through lessons learned practices and all good practices. Training institutions need to be serious and focus on training on DRR CCA. And there could be a DRR CCA project management guidance unit at the district or the state level. And focus on local innovation should be encouraged. And we can have a design team, project design team, which work on the mainstreaming DRR CCA. Can I have the next one, please? And just to go on, inclusion of DRR CCA experts in program review committees, regional planning, cumulative planning instead of, a small unit-wise planning. Can I have the next one, please? These are some of the entry point activities for gaining community acceptance. Can I have the next slide, please? Can I have the next slide? And the report also provides a program-wise recommendation in terms of the NREGA or the Indira Gandhi Awas Yojana. And it also provides recommendations at national, state, and district level and gives an action plan. If you want to have the full report, you can write to arun.sahdev@undp.org. He'll be more than happy to send you the PDF version of the entire report. Thank you.
Thank you, Balaji, for your keynote address and highlighting about this very important study which you conducted for Ministry of Home Affairs, and sharing some of the important and generic recommendations as to how to incorporate DRR and climate change adaptation into various programs. Thank you once again. May I now invite my next panelist, Mr. G.K. Bhatt. He is the director of Taru Leading Edge Private Limited. He will speak on urban risk reduction challenges and options. Mr. Bhatt is a geologist by profession and engaged in disaster management and climate change risk and resilience analysis for about 15 years. He will speak about urban risk mitigation. Mr. Bhatt, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'll be talking about what is the urban risk reduction challenges and options. We're just out of Chennai floods. And last year before last year, we had this Uttarakhand floods. And urban risks are becoming much important today. Can you put on the presentation? Yes, yeah. So I'll be talking something about what is actually the problem. We have, our urban services are not able to manage the rapid urbanization, whether it's water supply, whether it's roads, whether it's any other systems, we are unable to manage the urbanization. And there is a huge infrastructure lag, and amidst, we are also wasting the resources. If you see the water, most of the water supply systems today in urban areas have a leakage of something like 40 to 50%. And land cost, everything is centered around land costs. So whatever we relocate people, take from flood prone areas and put them in another flood prone area. So because that is the cheapest land. And core cities have decrepit infrastructure, which is actually increasing the earthquake risk. In Delhi or any other city you go, you'll find buildings more than 80 to 100 years old, which is not repaired because of the whole law regarding rental agreements, etc. We have got caught up in unable to improve those buildings or change the thing. And fourth thing is, we have forgotten water in all urban management. Water has no place to go. That's where the whole problem is. Whether the Chennai floods or whether it's the Uttarakhand floods, we say that land is ours, but the water has got a huge memory and it has got a history and it never forgives. So this is the case of Surat. What actually man-made situation, the condition anthropogenic as well as the natural conditions, how they add up to creating, increasing the risk. As you can see in the left side, whole urban pressures, they built more bridges, embankments, etc. And they also closed the outlet. And on the other side, we hope that the dams can solve our problems, that they do not solve. And this is what happens. You see the, next. You can see the floods used to be quite low in the earlier periods. Actually, the floods have become nearly double. The water level has gone nearly double in the matter of around 20 years by putting bridges, embankments, etc. So we think, whatever solutions we give actually solve the problems. So this is what we have ended up in. So what are the challenges in mitigation? Most cities do not have a functional risk mitigation plans. Land use master plans, actually there is a reality divergence is there. What is a master plan and what is actually on ground? There is huge difference. No mechanisms to inform buyers of risk. I buy a house, I buy a flat, I do not know whether it is a flood prone, only I find out after 5 years when I get one flood. And there is no advanced warning systems. In the management, we have the disaster management plans either do not exist or the people do not know about it. I just opened up some of the state and district disaster management plans, and I was shocked to find that they don't have the basic things, basic precautions which are required. They don't even have risk maps. First of all, any disaster, we should know what is the scale of disaster. They do not have. And most of our disaster management in urban areas are actually dysfunctional because they are very, very busy with other works like water supplies, sanitation, sewerage. If you go to any city engineer's room, you will find that he doesn't have time for this disaster management. Implementation is, we have to, the whole game in disasters is increase the respite time and reduce the response time. Respite time comes with the early warning. It is like a bomb. We know that when you know about the bomb is there, it has got 25 minutes. Then you can think about how fast you can get out. But if your advance warning comes too late, then your respite time is shrunk, and by the time all the confusion is over, the response time has increased. So we are actually doing exactly opposite. And most of our reactions to disasters has been knee-jerk reactions. Okay, this is just an example to show India has got India Disaster Resource Network where you can go and get the information about what equipment you require in case of disasters. So I was just doing it for Tamil Nadu because there was a, that last flood was there. I found that Tamil Nadu is missing in this. You can see that. Next one. Yeah. So after West Bengal, you see only Telangana. There is no Tamil Nadu. So most data is not available. Except four-wheel vehicles, there is no other data available in the IDRN. And delay in response and time is inevitable. Okay, this is all the problems. What do we do? So first of all, we should know what is the risk. If you do not know the risk, you can't manage. So risk and vulnerability should be known. We need to have GIS-based GIS based on the web platforms. Google Earth is one of the best methods to put the data where the people, everybody can watch. Delineate unsafe structures. And do a good annualized risk assessment. Politicians or administrators will start talking only when you say this is the cost of disasters on an annual basis. And mitigation actions, we need advocacy platforms. We require technical support centers. I say there is a heat wave occurring. How can we save from the heat wave? So how can I improve my building so that indoor thermal comfort is better? Or how do I save from floods? So I should be able to go to a technical support center in every city and get the information, and when I build or when I purchase the house, I can know what risk I am taking. And we need microzonation, and we need to have bottom-up approaches, not just the government approaches. Government cannot solve everything. Okay, yesterday I was looking into 7th Pay Commission, some report which says that only 1,250 people are there per 1 lakh population, which is much lower than any other country. So the government can't solve all your problems. Second is we require region, city level, end-to-end early warning systems. We need emergency scenarios. We need to know what is the sort of risk which you are going to take, like the story of say, Tamil Nadu floods or Uttarakhand floods. We should have those stories going out and people knowing I am taking this much risk. We need to have evacuation route planning. We need to have strengthened the emergency services, and we need to have clear standard operating procedures and emergency operation centers. Most of the emergency operation centers, you go to Delhi or you get to even Gujarat, you don't find any actually really functional ones. And incident command systems. And we need good neighborhood networks, which actually are the first responders. How do they manage the risk? Okay, now with the mobile phones, there is a lot of things can be done. I can show you, I can give the data and collect the data on a short notice. So first thing is make risk visible. People should know where the risks are and what is the extent of risk. The second is create demand by actually engaging with people, and community engagement for the people, by people approach. I'll just give you some examples. So just next. This is the state level data which is available for the state of Gujarat, which we actually was done by us. This is actually annualized loss. How much is the loss? This is for Himachal Pradesh, and by what sector. So different sectors we have worked out, and it's a composite risk. We know that this many crores of rupees are lost every year due to disasters. So we get down to the next level. This is the storm tide, how much storm tide can go in the Gulf of Khambat. Next we go into the village level. What is the strategic problems around the village, not in the village? So how the evacuation route can be cut, what is the other things that can happen? Yes, okay. And this is actually settlement level risk. Next. Yeah, next. Yeah, this is a strategic risk. Next, this is a village level or a settlement level. Next, this is what are the buildings which are available which can be used as evacuation, emergency shelters. Next, this is evacuation routes. Next, and this is the Surat, one ward. How much is the flood risk? Next, and this is the actually Google-based maps where you can show the diseases. We can show a whole lot of things. Okay, risk, how much flooding was there, all those things. Next. This is a WebGIS platform based on Google Earth. Next. So how do we use the power of mobiles to actually track the diseases like malaria or floods? Next. This is what is your resilience strategy can be, disaster resilience strategy can be.